ladies, are you dreaming big enough? I want you to dream big and act bigger. You see, I want to have power. I want to be empowered. Suddenly, being empowered is a more positive word, because I want to make sure that I know my own values, my boundaries. I know what I want to achieve in life. Visible and invisible barriers are only a problem if you accept them as such. So a woman with a big dream also needs to have a plan, because without a plan, that dream is just a wish.
I love her confidence, I love her charisma, and her positivity and her brightness and her colour and her lessons about life. You know, as a woman who's been through so much, it was really, really inspiring and really interesting.
I had 4 kids in 2 years. I wanted to be a businesswoman. I had no money. I had to think, how is this dream going to happen? If you actually start believing, if something's important to you, just back yourself. Back yourself despite what other people say. Successful people are not held back by what other people say.
I would recommend that for everybody, because everybody should have a dream and everybody should back themselves. So I think she's awesome.
Even when it feels like everything's not going to work, they go, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this does work. I'm going to be positive despite, because it brings energy, it brings opportunity. And as soon as you actually get half glass empty, your vision will start failing. I encourage you to start making your dreams a reality in business and in life. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Mindset Magic Summit, brought to you by Women's Biz Global. It's so wonderful to have you here. For those of you who've just been dropping into a lot of our sessions, thank you for the fantastic feedback. You're absolutely so welcome, and I hope you're getting so much value out of this summit. Make sure you take the opportunity to get a free trial of Women's Biz Tribe. Head on over to womensbizglobal.com and come and join us. Come and meet some of the speakers that you've been hearing. Make yourself known. Tell us Tell us what your challenges are at the moment, because we are all here for you. We're here because we know together we rise. And you will love our next summit speaker. Her name is Rev Joslyn, Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre. Oh my goodness, she's an intuitive wellbeing educator. She's also an ordained minister. She's a metaphysician. She's an integrative nutritional health coach. She's also a public speaker. She's an author of A Healthy Lifestyle Journey. Oh my goodness, she's co-authored The Divine Feminine, her relationship with God. She has just been doing so many things, and she's all about sacred self-care and coaching women who are just going through those rock bottom moments to actually pull themselves out of there, to find their inner power, and to just, you know, bask in their true essence of who they were born to be. So I'm so thrilled to be welcoming Reverend Joslyn.
Oh, Annie, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on. And so grateful.
Oh, it is so great. And you're coming from Trinidad and Tobago. And I know while other parts of the world are freezing over this time, you're actually hot. And I know, and I'm in Australia. And so we're all sort of sweating at this time, and other people are freezing. And I love the way the world just comes together. So I'd love you to share today. The topic of this summit is mindset magic, and we all have challenges with our mindset. So I would love you to be sharing today, well, what have been your biggest challenges with your own mindset? What are you still overcoming? Where are you at with, you know, trying to just continually evolve as a woman while you're coaching others?
I am so happy you touched on it. My biggest issue as a leader, as a lady, as a Caribbean person, is around and still centered around money. I couldn't separate my net worth from my net work, right? I couldn't separate. All of who I am at one point was tied up with money. I defined myself with money. And I think coming from a developing country, I also felt that I was not worthy, I was not enough. And so a lot of the decisions I made, a lot of the things surrounding money and how I define myself and how I looked at myself was coming from a space, from a mindset of not having enough, not being worthy. And this created tremendous issues for me as a Caribbean educator. Getting into business. So as an educator, of course, back then I was within our public system, and I would have a regular monthly salary. But then making that transition into the business arena, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a coach, there was I had to begin to search myself. And that's when I realized that my mindset around money had to shift. How I look at myself, how I look at the people I interact with, I had to make that shift in my mindset. And it was not until I got to that rock bottom moment, that moment where I felt I had absolutely nothing. And that's where I coined the term sacred self-care, because it was in that moment where I felt, well, I always knew who I was. I was a deeply spiritual and a lot religious at that time too. So it was during this moment that there was this toss and pulling of who I am. who I would do things, but whenever there came a time for me to show up, and show up as I like to call, show up big, and just give myself to the world and share my gift with the world, I tend to squinch back, to pull back, to make myself a little bit small because I felt I did not have the dollars to show in my account. Yes? So it is coming from this. So I'm going through all of this, feeling I'm at rock bottom, that there isn't much. And then I had that conversation with spirit or source. And the conversation with source went something like that. Well, what can I do now? What do I have in my hands? What can I use to sustain myself? And the answer came by me going through nature, looking through nature, and realizing that there are a number of things that I can use. So it first started off with me shifting my mindset to looking at, because we always have something. I had to ask, what do you have in your hands? And for me, what I had at the time in my hands was nature. I had my beautiful self. I had an education, and a whole host of things that I was not seeing at the time. And that, as I said, started the mindset shift, and where I coined the term sacred self-care, because I recognize that just as I am, just where I am, just where I feel that I'm at rock bottom, even in that rock bottom moment, I was worthy, I had worth, and I had a voice that I can use. I had writing skills that I could use. People needed it, and they always needed it, and I always use it, but I was never recognizing it as being a whole lot of money and value. And then I recognized, because I had to make the mindset shift of saying to myself, Joslyn, you are your money. You are the one that can create that money. And see money as just basically what it is, a tool and energy. And that my life was not, while I needed the money, while the money was important, I had to make that shift to realize that you are worthy, you are enough, you have, in fact, more than enough. And when I started to make that mindset shift, then things around me, I began to see things around me that were always there. I began to see, of course, my education. And at the time, I was heavily involved in spiritual activity, but I did not have the credential. So I just got wake up and I started to write. I penned a lovely letter to a university. And after hearing that, I was able then to get an education. And in fact, I would reference the biblical verse, which says, you he can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. And by simply making that mindset shift, I got up to now, I'm not finished even. I got a scholarship which afford me an education right up to my PhD level. So I'm in the middle of all of that now, where I'm studying in spiritual consciousness to become a doctor in that area, doing my PhD. And that came because of a mindset shift. Also, I began to take the same things that I would have had as I looked at where I feel that I didn't have enough, and I came upon nature. I used the moon. I turned that into a beautiful program where I looked at the crystals, where I looked at essential oils, and all those good stuff, natural good stuff that are around us. And I realized that, of course, you can put that into a beautiful program and share with the world. And the world will, in turn, the energy that you put out there will, you will can in turn get monies from that. So that's why, and of course, I'm a speaker, and I was getting paid all the time to be to speak, but I never looked at it as as something that I can do on a permanent basis. And as I begin to make these shifts, and as I say, I'm still going through some of those shifts. There was in terms of the program itself, and I hope I'm not going all wrong, but in terms of that program itself, when I was ready to just bring what I had to the forefront, I remember I wanted these fancy packaging that I didn't have. And there are times I realized that we had to put ourselves in a space where we got to use what we have and not look beyond us. And when I decided that I would use an old box that I had, I'm laughing now because the box was pretty, but it was pretty beaten up. And I said I would put out that program using exactly what I have. And as I made that shift again in my mindset, I got monies, so I could have gotten a whole set of boxes to package my program and my products in. And I mean, the rest is history when it came to the amount of things. One of the things, again, I had to shift on the way I think, and I had to learn how to receive. Because there was one time I thought, you can give, but receiving is, I don't want, this might be charity, and I don't want people to feel that I'm begging. And I'm just putting it out on the table there for us. So I had to shift myself and recognizing that as long as we are living in this world, it's a give and take. I am giving one way, and the other person is receiving. And I am receiving, and the other person is giving. And when I made those shifts, things became much easier. I began to look at myself through different eyes. I was the same person, but that confidence in who I was at the time and who I'm becoming, it began to radiate and show itself. So, Annie, I've said a mouthful. There's so much more I can say on that.
Oh my goodness, I've just loved listening to you, and I've been writing down some notes. What really leapt out of me there was you are your money. Oh my goodness. I hope everyone else has written that down as well, because you are the missing ingredient, I feel like, on so many of the other things that you're searching for. While you're focusing purely on money or your lack of money, scarcity mindset, sort of desperation, how am I going to get more? It's focusing on the actual currency and the value that you're putting on that. You're putting the value, which is what I was hearing from you, and I know from so many people that I've coached, the value is on the dollar. The value is on, I am so much more worthy if I have certain amount of money in my bank account, and it comes from the position and the title, to if I don't have anything. And that's right. As you said, you're the same person. So while you were getting a salary, and I know I coach entrepreneurs, this is one of the biggest issues that you've raised, and I'm so thankful that you've done that today, because when you've got that position and title and a certain amount of secure money coming in, it's amazing that actually becomes the safety net, that becomes the prestige, that becomes the value. Whereas you suddenly give that away to then become an entrepreneur, and then like going, oh my gosh, if I've got nothing coming in my bank account, and then I don't have the title yet, I'm not a successful entrepreneur, then does it change everything? And the reality is it should not. It should actually not be the dividing factor, because you've gone and said exactly right. You are worthy. You are enough. You have all of those elements of who you are that will then, when you start focusing on that, create the worth, that will create the wealth, because you are worthy in your own position. But it's hard, and I love the way that you have shared today that, that the real challenge that it is, because other people will go, yes, I've got that challenge. I'm in that place at the moment. I remember, Joslyn, when I'd been a corporate CEO for 12 years, and when I actually told people I'm going to resign and I'm going to focus on women's biz, the amount of people who went and said, but Annie, you then won't be a CEO. You will lose that income. And it was really interesting, because what it showed me, Joslyn, I'd love to have your thoughts on that, is that they actually were worried about, they value the title. They value that certain income, and they define that as, therefore, you're successful. Whereas for me, it was like, well, I have to believe that what I'm doing next, if I channel the right energy, that's that, bringing the elements of me and nature and my spiritual self and all those things that you were talking about in my own way, like you have done in your own way, then that will then create its own wealth. But it'll also create so many other elements, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. Not just wealth or enough. It actually creates joy. It creates, future legacy, and it creates those things that I value. Do you find that as well?
Absolutely, Annie. What I found out is that as we let go this, I call it, all those traditional and all those paraphernalias that we feel we should have, those titles and the steady income. Not that it's not bad to have a steady income, but as we let go all of that, you find that you get so much more. Because what you find is, once you become in alignment with who you are, what you felt you came here in this world to do, or you I like to say, follow through on your heart's desire. Once you begin to get in alignment with all of that, you will find the joy, you'll find that peace. And even if the circumstances may not be exactly what you like, the joy and peace that you can generate from all of that is far beyond that money currency. And that, to me, is the true wealth. Being able not only to provide for yourself financially, but having those extras, the joy, the peace, and it's a whole host of other things. But these two, for me, is paramount. It goes a long way. And you also find that sense of fulfillment. Oh boy, that sense of fulfillment, it takes you from being that person who was just receiving a salary, who just hold a title, to an individual who can place themselves out in the world and feel that they are offering more than enough value. Well, at least that's what I think, Annie. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yes, I absolutely love that point, that when you focusing on where we were before, the position and the certain salary, yes, and you do that job, and yes, you do it well, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Totally dedicated to that role, but you'll only be there once from us as entrepreneurs now, that you can create that own amount of wealth, money that you're requiring, needing, aiming for. But that's right, there's so much more. I love focusing on the more, which, as you said before, it also is the give and the take, so I actually love now to be giving, to be I get joy and satisfaction from providing opportunities for women to elevate, you know, to come on our summits, to go in the magazine, to be in books, to be elevating their profile, to be meeting people, to be doing introductions and go, you know, you would love to meet this person that I know. You know, it doesn't cost me much, but for them, it will just can change their world, right? It's not always that you're taking, that you can the giving can often be the biggest joy, you know, the fact that you have made a really big impact and a really big difference, or in someone's life, or even changing an industry. Some people are changing an industry, you know, in the way that they do business. You know, I've had many people who go, I show up and I approach my work and my role in a different way, and it actually is changing a whole space. You know, there's so many aspects to this conversation, and a lot of it just actually comes down to value. You know, what do you value personally, and what does that look like in the world? And that will be a very different package for everybody. You know, for some people it is the certainty of the income, because then they can have their side passion, which doesn't have to be a side hustle, and they get it through that way. You know, they can actually do that through their hobbies and their other interests, and that works. You know, there's that safety net. For others who actually put themselves all in, there's many struggles through that, because it doesn't happen overnight. There's many times that you just go, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Now I have nothing. But once you go through those hard times, and you call them the rock bottom times, that can be really hard, because everything that you've put value on previously gets rocked to the core, doesn't it? You know, it just suddenly, anything that you thought, I don't have an issue with this, I'm not proud, I'm not, you know, I'm not desperate to have a title or security or this or that. And suddenly, when you don't have that at your immediate disposal, it will surface all of your buttons, all of your issues, right? But when you then address those and you push through, and then you end up getting to a stage that you actually have risen above it, going, yeah, I know I had that issue, but I don't now, because I believe in myself. I believe in my worth. I believe I am capable. I believe I'm okay. One of my big breakthroughs, and you mentioned that before, was actually even accepting help. You know, I help people all the time, and the amount of people who actually say to me, oh, it's okay, just, you know, don't worry. And I'm like, no, I used to say that. I'm not worried. I want to help you. Like, let people help you. Right? Have you had that problem? You're so proud going, I have to do it my own way, and I don't want to tell anyone I've got a problem. And it's like, you have these beautiful fairy godmothers sometimes who are just going, I'm happy to help you. And people still say no. Say yes. Have you had that problem?
I actually had, this is part of my struggle now, learning to receive, learning to say, yes, thank you, and feeling okay with it, you know? And that has been my biggest struggle. Now, I always knew that I could ask, and there are times I did ask. But being in that space where you don't feel as, when I asked, there were times I tied up my worth with asking and receiving. But there is, you are who you are. And that's the thing about this entrepreneurial journey and mindset and everything is learning from the one. You said some very important thing, believing in ourselves. Because if you truly believe in yourself and you truly trust yourself, and you know what you bring into the table is of value and of worth, then you will be fine with receiving, because you recognize that within this sphere of things and in this world, we are not an island. We need each other. And so it's a give and it's a take. And that's how we are able to receive. There is something else that came to mind as we spoke on this, in regards to mindset, in regards to how we show up in the world and how we look at ourselves and how we interact with people. one of the things, of course, we may have to deal with is how people look at us, or how we perceive people look at us. And as you say, we're no longer receiving maybe a set salary. And because of that, folks may tend to feel that we do not have a rich life and we're not fulfilled, and what we're doing might be less than. So this is something that I myself had to deal with in regards to my mindset again. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Annie, but I had to look at myself through the eyes of source, through the eyes of spirit, and not through the eyes of who I think people thought I was or is.
I think this has been one of the biggest learnings for me, and pretty much everyone I coach. Like, seriously, so many people will go, they've lost a decade or two worrying so much about how other people perceive them, what other people will think, what if I fail? Will it be just so embarrassing? And will I be able to cope? The pressure that we put on the external is actually a tragedy in my view, because it just robs you, but it actually robs the world. And my views on that are that you were born onto this planet for a reason, in your true sense, in all of your crazy, quirky, beautiful, spiritual, individual ways. And therefore, we should be more of that, right? And therefore, I show up every day as I am. I don't airbrush myself. I don't try and put on a different image, different way. I'm not more formal in one sense and not the other, because, I was born to be Annie, you're born to be Joslyn, and everyone is born to be their unique self. And when you actually tap into that, it's not selfish. It's actually just being your true, authentic self, and to be growing and developing that. And then when you are showing up as your best self, therefore, you're more of a blessing to the world. When you're half yourself or trying to be an imposter self because you're trying to conform to other people's views, then you're actually robbing the world of the person that was meant to be, because that person that you're trying to be is already probably taken by someone else, right? It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and it's exhausting. It's emotionally draining. It's confusing. It's stressful, because when you're concentrating so much on trying to be enough, trying to be right, trying to be different, that then totally sabotages your ability to be able to just show up and then put your 100% focus. My view is, if I'm looking towards my empowered future, I can't be looking away. You can't be doing both, right? So if I'm fully in, then therefore the things that are behind me, which is someone else's opinion and view, and yes, I will listen to for feedback all the time, but it's an opinion that I then consider while I've taken that view that I've heard, and I'm considering it in my future self. Does it apply to my future self? Will it actually help bring out the best of me? Or is it just an opinion? And most things are opinion from someone who has not been on your journey, doesn't truly understand where you're trying to go, has a different view. It's very subjective based on their mindset, which might be totally screwy. It's so yeah, which is why I love, if I'm going to get coach, and I'm a coach, I have a business coach, and I'm a coach for many people. I want to make sure that I have to be ahead of their journey. I have to understand their journey, because I'm only going to be relevant to them if I actually am further along the way. If I'm not, then I'm no value to them, right? I would actually say, you don't want me, you actually want to be coached by someone else, because, their value will be to be leaning into, growing into the future of someone who knows and believes and sees their worth and sees their value and is going to equip them and help them, rather than someone who just goes, oh no, you won't be good at that. That won't work for you. Or, oh, that must be really terrible to now have no value, no prestige, and no this, no that. You just go, you're not bringing me, you're not supporting. It's like you've got a beautiful plant and you're just putting, you're overdosing it with chemicals, right? You're not going to bring out the joy. You need to be planted in the right garden. So anyway, I've done a big response to that, but I'm very passionate about that side of things.
Actually, that's what I love about you, Annie, and the tribe, because the authenticity, that genuineness, feeling free to be who you are. Ooh, I got to say, I love it.
Rocket, sister. I absolutely love it, because I know, and I see this all day, every day, that those people who actually just go, okay, enough, get rid of the external baggage, just actually pack it. It doesn't mean that you don't need to talk to those people. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It just means that you put an actual, like a cone around, this little force field, and go, all right, now I need to actually focus on me. And I love your work with yours, your sacred self. I love, you have to start with yourself first. You have to get yourself grounded. You have to understand who you are, what you value, what success even looks like to you, what blockages you've had with your mindset that you need to work through. And then surround yourself. The next level has to be people who are going to nurture you, to feed you, to support you, to believe in you, while you start believing in yourself, right? Because it doesn't happen overnight. And the value, the benefit is exponential. I mean, people just go on steroids. It's just like, whoa, oh my gosh, I'm now set free to be me. Like, what a revelation. Oh my goodness. I want every 5-year-old girl who's just twirling around in their backyard believing that they can be anything in the world to continue that on. Why do we as a society, muck that up? Put the limits. There are no limits, right? You're now unlimited. You're now limitless. Now you believe, Joslyn, that you can be paid to be a speaker anywhere in the world. You can have your business online available as a shop, even in the Caribbean, to anywhere in the world. You are not actually limited. Do you feel that you're now limitless?
I feel absolutely limitless. And all the shackles that boxing, I've begun to just expand. It's and it's so amazing, because when I started off on this journey, all I was seeing is that I didn't have. Oh, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. So because I didn't have, I couldn't be. And I felt I couldn't express and live up to that full expression of who I am, of Joslyn. But getting to that rock bottom moment, getting to that place where and having to sit in it, and beginning after right now in this phase where I am, I do, as I said, I'm still working on who I came here to be. I'm still evolving, but from where I was to now, oh, it's a huge expansion, knowing that one, yes, I can speak to the entire world and get paid for it. So, and not only that, in speaking to, so see the expansion, because now I'm not limited to one set of people and how they think, but I now have the opportunity, one, to earn money, and two, to get to learn all the different cultures and to share my culture with other folks. So it is limitless, and I can go on and on. But Annie, I can.
Thank you so much. Exactly. That's right. It's having is not being. I think that's where I want to close this session on. Having is not being. You can be more in every way, despite what society says is the necessary, what you have, what they think you need. That's for you to define and for you to create in your own way for your own reasons. And there'll be an incredible diversity around what that looks like to absolutely every person on the planet. And so therefore, once you realize that you're 100%, enough, just being you, then what you then have is then, your choice, your opportunities, which are limitless. and they're enhanced when you're surrounded by people who will actually sort of support you and nurture you. I thank you so much for sharing on our summit today. It's been absolutely brilliant. You're always refreshing. You're full of passion. You're full of love. You're full of hope. And I also thank you for your candid sharing, because I know, we're all on a journey, and that some things that we've worked through and you go, oh my gosh, I had a revelation and I'm now past that, and other things we still struggle with, and I love it that women within Women's Biz Tribe are like that. They're actually very happy to share their ongoing journey with others. So thank you so much, Rev Joslyn.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Hello and welcome. My name is Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. As a woman, a career executive and mum of 5, I know that becoming successful in a modern day society, it can be extremely difficult and challenging. The requirements of career and business success are often overwhelming, especially when you have competing priorities like family. But that does not mean that you can't be extraordinary. At Women's Biz Global, our goal is to educate, motivate and elevate women so that they can have the freedom to live a life they love. It doesn't matter what your current status or position is. Your empowered future starts now. Whether you're a startup or a scale-up, or you're juggling business, life, career, family, everything, we will teach you how to dominate in your niche area without the stress and overwhelm that comes from wasting time and money and energy. We will equip you to achieve success, balance and happiness on your terms. We invite you to join Women's Biz Tribe. Start by attending Women's Biz events and enjoy the benefit of interacting with like-minded women from around the globe who are choosing to unapologetically play a bigger game. Women's Biz Coaching offers a variety of programs that may suit your needs. We have boot camps and webinars, online structured programs and incubators. They're all designed to help grow your personal and professional brand, confidence and support framework. Women's Biz Media will help you discover extraordinary women via our podcast, Memoirs of Successful Women, and reach 12 million potential readers via Women's Biz Magazine. Women's Biz Publishing will take all the pain away from getting your voice and message out into the world. Your brand value will literally skyrocket overnight. And if you would prefer to access our consulting services, I will personally ensure high value solutions are provided to meet your specific needs, to time, to budget, and all with a beaming smile. Finally, get to know our affiliate partners and learn how you might like to become one yourself. Women's Biz Global is the support network that will fast-track your journey to success. So what are you waiting for? Be unapologetically you. Women's Biz Global, helping women succeed in business and life.